Welcome back to my channel, Logically Literate. Today I'm going to be doing part 2 of a 5-part series, making a Python web server using Flask and SQL Alchemy. In this video we're going to be focusing on creating the Flask server and getting an HTML page to show up in a web browser. So first off, we'll want to open up PyCharms and we'll want to open up ourselves into a new project. We'll want to first validate that the project interpreter is set on our Anaconda interpreter. Notice this one isn't. You can select here from a list, or you may have to go into here and actually add the interpreter. Here you can see all the different libraries that comes with Anaconda. This is why I like it. It comes with a lot of libraries pre-installed, so we don't have to do too much work to get up and running. So we'll go ahead and select that and then hit OK. It'll go through and it'll read through all of the libraries and kind of synchronize itself so you're able to jump through the code as you write it. So we're going to go ahead and wait for that to stop, and then once that's finished, we'll continue. And with that having finished up, we can continue now with setting up our kind of base folder structure and file structure. So for starters, we're going to create a file called run.py. And this file will be kind of like our main file. That's where we're going to run all the various, or that's where we're going to kick off the server from. Next, we're going to create a couple folders. First, we're going to create an API folder. This folder will be where all of our API-related functionality will go. More info on that later. Then we're going to create a database folder. That'll be where all of our database interaction is contained. Then we'll have a site folder. This will be where all of our HTML code and things like that and user-facing functionality will sit. And that'll be good for now. We're also going to want to create a requirements .txt file. This file is used to install the specific libraries that are needed for the project. So for starters, we'll go ahead and just add a couple things into here. We'll want to have some Flask stuff in there, and we'll want to have SQL Alchemy in there as well. It'll say maybe that you do not have certain things installed. If you installed for all users, if you installed Anaconda for all users, hitting install requirements won't work. You'll have to do it through an Anaconda prompt. So why don't we do that real quick here. We'll go ahead and run this as admin. Again, you get a pop-up. And then what you'll want to do is find the directory that you're actually in. Mine happens to be in the F drive, so we'll go there. You'll want to cd to that drive. And then at that point you can do pip install -r requirements. One more. There we go. Pip install -r requirements.txt. Hit enter on that, and it'll go through, it'll download all the various libraries you need, and it'll install them. So now at this point we have all the libraries for this project that we'll need starting off installed. Once PyCharms notices, this will actually go away, but for now we'll just leave it. Our run file will be a very basic file. We'll essentially want to have a couple main things in it. So in our, well, let's go ahead and start. Yeah. So in this file, we'll want to have the start of our app. So we'll want to say from Flask, import Flask, oops, Flask. And then we'll want to say app equals Flask __ name. And this will actually create a instance of Flask for us. And then we'll want to set up our blueprints. What blueprints is, it's a way to create different modules to separate your Flask endpoint handlers in a very nice, logical way. we'll talk more about that when we actually get to using it. But you'll want to just go ahead and have a line like this, but for now we'll leave it commented out because we don't have any mods yet built. So then after that, we'll go ahead and have some configs. And these configs are mostly unused right now. We'll have one, and we'll just call it debug. And so that'll be app.config, and we'll say SQL alchemy _ echo, and that equals debug, and then we'll say debug equals true, and then we'll come down here and we'll actually run this configuration. And I will go ahead and put this inside of an if_name equals main. This isn't necessarily needed here because we will be running this file, but if we wanted to have some functionality in some other files, and you wanted to test them on a file-by-file basis, you could use this inside that file, such that when they're imported like this, it won't run, but when they're run by themselves, like if you were to do this, then this would actually run. So we can go ahead and test that out and see how it works. There we go. We have our Flask app running. This right here is the address you can use to contact it. As of now, since we don't have anything running, it'll say that. However, if we were to turn it off, you would see this. It doesn't connect at all. So that kind of shows it's working there. By when it's running, you get this page. Not found, 404. Okay, so now let's start to build some endpoints. Okay, so in the site folder, we're going to create a new Python file, and we're just going to call it public for now. And this will be our kind of base endpoint that will load up our home page. So again, from Flask, but this time we're going to import blueprints and render template. Then we'll want to create a new module. This is again using blueprints, and we'll call this one public. And we'll give it a name, and we'll give it a template folder of templates. And while we're on that topic, let's go ahead and make a template folder called templates. Notice I put it inside of the site folder. That's because this is a locally referenced name, so it'll go and it'll look right next to the public file for that templates file folder. And this templates folder will include some HTML files. So then we'll create our first route, and to do that, you'll use @mod, that mod being the blueprint mod, .route, and we'll give it a name. The name of the route is just /, that means it is our base route. So then after that decorator, the @mod is a decorator. After that decorator, we'll create a function. This function can be named anything. We'll use the word index because that's commonly used for your kind of like first/home HTML file that gets loaded. And we'll go ahead and just return a render template of home.html. That home.html will be found in our templates folder when we actually go and put one in there. So let's go ahead and create a home.html. So in here, we're going to say new HTML, home.html. Okay. So now we have a home.html, and we'll give it a new title. We'll call it Flask Home. And we'll go ahead and save that. We'll run this. One cool thing about having debugger mode here is that I can make a modification to a file, such as a space there. I can hit save, and it'll actually restart the server down here. Okay, I see why it's not working. We never actually registered our mod. So what we're going to do is come up into our run.py file, and we're going to say from site.public import mod, and then we're going to say as public mod. And this as is just a rename. It makes things cleaner when we have multiple mods. So then we'll say app register mod, and if we save that, that'll make the change there. And now if we come back to our page and we hit refresh, we'll have our new page that has the title of Flask Home. One of the cool things is you can actually watch things change in real time. So what we can do is have, let's do this. Let's have let's just do an H1 of hello Flask. And if we save that, it won't react, but what we can do here, two things. You can hit the restart button, or you can just come and make a change in here. For some reason the HTML files don't react because they're not Python files. But if we come over here and reload it, we'll have hello Flask. So if I were to make that change in here and then come and change some things in here, it automatically reload. I could hit reload and I'd have that. So that's the basics of how to get an HTML page to show using Flask, and this includes our public blueprint. In the next video we'll talk about how to create a page using Jinja and load it and do some cool things where we can actually move data between the user interface and our backend. But until then, thanks for watching.